perspective to aging and caregiving. Here is your host, Micheal Pope.
All right, here we go. It is 8 o'clock on Friday, January 19th, and you have joined another wonderful fellowship session gathering of Life is a Sacred Journey. It is always my honor and privilege to be with you. It is exciting to be with you. And I wanted to just say to all of you that come back week after week, we are so excited that you do. It's really good to see you in 2024. Somebody asked me the other day, before we get into our topic, how I was doing in 2024. And I had a hard time with 2023, no specific thing. There was a couple of things that just kind of sucker punched me. I lost a really good friendship in 2023, and I'm still mourning that. And then other things that just happened that time itself. But then there were joys. My granddaughter was born. My family continues to grow closer together. But it was a hard year, and I don't really know why. There's really no specific reason. There's a lot of reasons. So if you're out there right now and you made it to 2024, would you join me in just taking a deep breath? Let's take a deep breath. Sister T is someone who dances across my heart and soul every single moment that I breathe because of her faith and her dedication to prayer and praying for others. And so she always says, breathe. And so let's just take a deep breath in. Let's start this Life is a Sacred Journey with the sacred breath of life. So let's take a deep breath in. I like to close my eyes because it helps me to focus. But take a deep breath in and blow out. Breathe in. And I've learned through breathing it's really good to breathe in. It's from your belly, from your core. So breathe in from there, up through the lungs. Hold it, and then blow out. And one last time, let's breathe in. And blow out. And then make that sound. Feels good, doesn't it? All right. Well, my name is Micheal Pope, and I'm the host of Life is a Sacred Journey. It's great to have you here this morning. And today we are really going to delve into kind of the things that reflections from the Alzheimer's Association, the National Institute on Health and Aging, and just a variety of research arms across the United States and the world that are looking at the future of Alzheimer's and dementia and the care needs and the research and all of that. We'll spend some time talking about that. But one of the things that I have been doing research on probably in the last decade are what are the holistic approaches to mind, body, and spirit. Many of you know that it was about 6 years ago, I was really hit hard with sciatic pain, something that I had never experienced before, and to the point where I had to use a cane. And I couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong. I was already exercising and all those kinds of things that were given to me as advice to, kind of mitigate the pain a little bit. And then when I went to the doctor, it was about, oh yeah, you've got this C3, C4 thing happening in the back. And surgery, was discussed with me. And as you all know, I'm nervous about surgeries and things like that. So what I did is I went to an acupuncturist and I went to a massage therapist, and they both told me, well, you're holding stress. Yes, the C3, C4, all that stuff is still going on. But because I hold my stress right in here, it starts at the base of my, where the sciatic is, at the top half of your buttocks area, all the way up through, and then it rests here, and then it resonates up through the back of my neck. Well, I thought I was having an aneurysm and that too. And so I went and found out the muscles are just like, nyeh. And if you're a person like me that, that's where the stress builds throughout the day when I travel, things like that, you have to find ways to make it so that your life is comfortable. For some people, the pain is so bad, they have to have the surgery. They have to do certain things. My dear friend Sandy had to do that, and the pain has gotten better. But I don't think it's 100% gone, but way better, like 99.9%. So when we're thinking about cognition and when we're thinking about how we're going to age with a healthy brain and the ability to live as long as we can, there are things that research has shown that help with that. So one of the holistic things that I've been doing now for probably a decade is lion's mane. Lion's mane is a group of mushrooms that it's microbiome, and this has 2,000 milligrams of certified organic mushroom powder blend. Lion's mane is the smartest mushroom in the kingdom, it says, and I'm not going to swear by it as far as telling you to go out and do it, but I take 1 teaspoon, excuse me, daily in my coffee. I went to Dunkin' Donuts this morning. Hey, Dunkin' Donuts. But this is called Om Lion's Mane. It's a certified organic mushroom powder. I put a teaspoon of it in my coffee every single morning. This little bag, I got at Whole Foods. I think it's almost $20, and it lasts 50 cups of coffee. And actually, you're going to join me in putting it in this morning. And I'm not saying that it's going to prevent dementia or Alzheimer's, but what I will tell you, it is good for my gut. It is good for my memory, focus, and nerve health. It has properties that do help the neurotransmitters and nerve health. And nerve health and all of those things in your brain help with cognition. So again, I always share with you with the understanding that I am not a doctor. I am not a medical professional in the sense that I went to medical school, but I am sort of a human science project. I use myself as a science project, and I try new things based on a lot of research. So I'm just sharing with you. I'm not telling you that you should do this. So here's my teaspoon of lion's mane. I'm putting it in my coffee because I ran out of coffee at the house this morning. So that's the other reason I had to stop at Dunkin' Donuts. One of my plans for 2024 is to not spend as much money. I'm really going to downsize my spending. And so I don't go there every morning. I usually make it. All right, so I just wanted to share as a precursor, and now let's get into the topic. And welcome to Life is a Sacred Journey. Hit the share button, get your pencil and pad and paper, get your coffee, your tea, and always have water nearby. And let's get started. We are now looking at the shape of the future of dementia and Alzheimer's. We're looking at it from many arms. One of them is the research arm. How do we continue to raise dollars? Not me personally, but the Alzheimer's Association and other organizations, but primarily the Alzheimer's Association, raise dollars to perform the form of research that will either lend itself to longevity, meaning once you're diagnosed, even that there's drugs that will really stop. We have Aricept, we have all kinds of derivatives of that medication that really do help to bring some clarity and defog folks in the early stages. We have some people that it does work with when they have mild cognitive impairment. And then we have found there are others where it just hasn't made an impact at all. Because we're all, while very much the same, we're also very different. So there are drugs now. When I came to ACEP 27 years ago, these drugs did not exist, and they came about through the research of doctors and neurologists and individuals in the research of cognition care. and the Alzheimer's Association had played a major role at that. I have colleagues at UCSF that are doing incredible work around mind, cognition, and also how to live with dementia. What kind of research can we do to make sure that somebody who is diagnosed can live in the community? Why? Because we have found throughout the years of providing care for Alzheimer's and dementia, because Alzheimer's is one dementia, and then there's a variety of others. Um, Places to live if you don't have family members, or if there's your caregiver partner is just as frail or has their own needs or aging alongside. What kind of care facilities are needed? Well, we do have dementia-specific facilities, but again, there's this economic challenge that we have around that, and we're going to get to the political ramifications before we close today. But there's cost to all of this, and not many people can afford to go to an assisted living where the pricing can be anywhere from, and I found some that 6,000 when the person is really able to live pretty independently, but maybe will need a little direction from time to time, and they live in this facility and they age in place, and they live out the trajectory of their disease. Those places exist. But by the time the person does live out their trajectory of the disease, we're talking about a monthly fee that is double the 6,000 possibly. They're now paying more like $12,000 a month. And again, for some people, if they have pensions, if they have your retirement funds and had the blessing of being able to sock money away, that may not be an issue. If they have family members that have six-figure jobs and that they can help them as well as live their own life and meet the challenges of the current market and expenses of cost of living, great. But I see a growing middle population where that's not possible, where they did save as much as they could, but something happened along the way. They raised children, they paid for college educations, somebody in the family was ill before they, and while they have a little bit of savings, it will not be enough for them to live in an assisted living that costs $10,000 to $12,000 a month. And what I have found is that if we could really sit down and plan once the diagnosis is in the life of the family, that we start with the model, I'm going to always say that adult day healthcare, adult daycare is the place to start. Why? Because the average cost per month, if give or take, because healthcare versus non-healthcare models are very different in cost, but $150 a day, what, $2,000 a month? That's a big difference from $12,000. And your family member gets the opportunity to get all of this wonderful socialization as well as medical support, and then come home. Now, many of our folks in our program do not have family members that they can live at home with, and they are a part of the PACE model, where it's all-inclusive care. And in that instance, the family then they can be around, but maybe they just can't. They're not in the position to care for their loved one. Then maybe a board and care is found for that person, but the person is supported. 100% of their care is supported. So we do have models in the community. I have an itch, excuse me. My dog licked me this morning. We have models of care that can support families, but the access is still a challenge. Why? Because not every person knows about it. Not every social worker is aware or knows where to refer, particularly now after the pandemic, when many of my colleagues have had to close due to a lack of funding and reimbursement rates that are low and licensing fees that are, as you heard me last week, that are just not fair in many, many ways. And so those models exist, but you have to find the access point in order to to take advantage of them, and not when taking advantage is a word that those two words, a phrase that we've made negative, because take advantage usually means doing something wrong, but I just mean access. So you have PACE, which is all-inclusive care in Alameda County, this northern part of Alameda County and Contra Costa. We have CEI, Center for Elders Independence, and then San Francisco and down in the Fremont area, San Jose, you have OnLock. The government does require that the PACE models stay within a certain geographic area. So you have PACE. Then you have adult daycare. Adult daycare is similar to what a lot of churches are doing across the United States. Because of their congregations getting smaller and smaller. They're trying to figure out ways to, one, be a benefit to the community, but also doing something that will benefit their congregation members as they age in place. And it's adult daycare. And that's a little different. It's a respite program, yes, continues to be respite for the caregiver, but there's usually not any medical intervention. It's more have a nice lunch, coffee, and sit with, other individuals who go exercise. I mean, they're rich programs, but they're a little different than ASEB here, because we have that higher level where we have the nurse, the physical therapist, the occupational therapist, a medical director, a pharmacist consult, a dietitian consult. We can bring in a podiatrist, a dental person consult. We have a social worker, LCSW, life enrichment coordinator, and then life enrichment aides. So it's a different model. We've added other elements of care because of the diagnosis that we specialize in, which is Alzheimer's, and then other forms of dementia, and now mental health. Okay, so those are the sort of community-based models, and there's all kinds of, the village model is another model that I love, where there's a village of volunteers that are brought together to support. They're just on NPR this morning. I was hearing about San Francisco Village, a village of volunteers that come together. They're organized. There's an executive director and an organization around them, and they buddy and partner them with individuals who need help in the home, to stay in their community, to stay in their home, but they give them rides to the doctor and this story was beautiful. They've become a family. They had Thanksgiving dinner together. So you have all of these models of care that exist. And the challenge that we have is access and people understanding how the entry points and knowing where to go to get engaged and involved. And the application process is still pretty arduous in some of those. We've tried to make the intake process as seamless as possible, but it does require a lot of time of the caregiver and a lot of fact finding and data collection. Okay, let's move on. So we've talked about community-based services and where they are, what they are a little bit, and there's all kinds of little models coming up around the world that are going to be a part of the future. One of the future models that I love and I actually am exploring for Alzheimer's services of the East Bay is having tiny little sort of mini room apartment, what we used to call kitchenettes back in the day, for people living with dementia and Alzheimer's on one floor, the daycare center on the bottom floor, and then above that, possibly some veteran housing, and then above that, and again, not a whole lot, and above that, so only 3 levels up from the daycare, having folks that want to pay market price. And again, creating a community where people are living together, and not making it so that, those of us who think we have all of our facts and cognition, that we live somewhere else from the other people. And yes, there would have to be a lot of considerations to have such an inclusive and diverse population in one place. But, I think that we sell ourselves short when we just say, let's do it this one way. And it would be an experiment. So I'm looking for funding and partners and people that are interested in doing those kinds of things. It's going to probably be my swan song project here at ASAB, because I'm also looking for someone to mentor as a part of my succession plan so that I can, the days are coming where it's going to be time to spend more time uh, with family and friends. So all of those things are the future. I put a little bit of my future in there, but those are future plans, and other communities are already trying to do those things across the United States. And it's called all-inclusive care. It's making it so you don't have to. And then we have a model here in Oakland, Hung Fook, where they actually they've done that. That's how they have always been. They owned a building where there's apartments above the daycare center. So people just have to go up and down the stairs or the elevator on a daily basis. When you can make it that convenient, you can do different things. And then you are able, as a nonprofit, to pull in some funding from housing as well as social services and all of that, which makes the model a little bit more not a little bit, a lot more financially stable, which means you have the capability to plan to be in the future for those who need to get that level of care. So we talked about that. We're going to have a lot more knowledge sharing and collaboration. And again, this is from Priscilla Novak. She is a researcher for the Division of Behavioral and Social Research for the government. And she's talking about data, just sharing data across tables, like services, sitting down and really coming together in coalitions. We belong to a couple of coalitions over here in Alameda County and within the state. And we have to make sure those data tools are a little bit more uniform, that they take into consideration inclusion and diversity for people who do not speak English and don't have the experience, the life experience that our majority population has. And again, I was speaking to someone the other day and they were saying, oh, I'm so tired of all this conversation about inclusiveness and diversity. Isn't that just as racist as people who have prejudice against one ethnicity or race? And I said, no, we've got to talk about it, because if we don't talk about it and just try to slam ourselves together with this rich diversity and the fact that we haven't been inclusive, we have an illusion of it, we're going to implode. And the very reason that we came together to be collaborative and looking into forward thinking is going to go out the window. So collaboration, data tools, and data points that are able to be used in every context, even in our rural communities. That's one of the areas in the future that that I found research on, that we're going to have to do more work on. The rural areas, the peoples that live off the grid, that are aging in place. I have a dear friend, a dear sister that lives up in snow area and, aging in place. And so what does that mean when there's a snowstorm? Does anybody know she's there? Now, she does. She has a good circle of love around her, but I'm talking about the person one space removed from that, where they're trying to do it alone. And then if they have cognition challenges that nobody is aware of, what happens to that individual? So those are some of the things. And then the Alzheimer's Association, I want to go there a little bit. They did a report in 2023, March of 2023. They talked about the risk of not talking about Alzheimer's and dementia across the continuum of a person's healthcare status, particularly after they move from what we call young adulthood, which is the 20s, into the 30s and 40s of their life. We now have people living with mild cognitive impairment. They've been diagnosed with that in their late 40s, early 50s. And so when do we begin to do the benchmarks of a person's cognition, doing a MOCA, which is a tool that is used to discern if there's some memory challenges, even slightly. Do we do MRIs at that point? Do we have set up a questionnaire that talks about head injury health? You know, why families are fighting right now about flag football. Starting with little people, you know, have they had concussions or injuries? And then, you know, as that person grows, all these things impact the brain and impact the diagnosis of dementia and Alzheimer's. So I thought that was a really good thing to really navigate that early intervention. You know, the Alzheimer's Association is looking for a cure, but they're also working on a vaccine to see, you know, like somebody probably in my age, just like I got the COVID vaccine, the RSV vaccine, the pneumonia vaccine. I'm just a walking vaccine. Like you get all these vaccines at a certain age. Well, maybe at 60, I don't know, you begin to, I get the vaccine for Alzheimer's. Wow. That day would be a marvelous day for those of us who are still aging in place and fairly healthy and not experiencing memory challenges or cognition challenges at this time. Wouldn't it be great if we could get a vaccine? So the Alzheimer's Association has a mission and vision to look at vaccine, so to prevent that, and they're also seeing that it's not always about the amyloids and all of these things. So the research is showing us new and exciting things on what the causes may be. And again, as I've told you in many podcasts, and we've had guests come and tell you this, there's multiple reasons. There's multiple things that happen that make Alzheimer's and dementia a part of a person's life journey. And so it would be great if it were just one thing. We'd already have a cure. We'd already have something that could possibly help you a little bit more once you were diagnosed. But it's not one thing. It's not one thing. So navigating early intervention where people also know the signs and symptoms of Alzheimer's and dementia so that they can, in any forms of dementia, I mean, a stroke is going to really tell you, you know, what's going on. Like, but sometimes people have mini strokes that they don't even, it's never been recognized by a physician or a medical team or even by the individual. And then they have a massive stroke. And then you begin to see that these mini strokes were the episodes when they began to have memory loss. They began to lose a little bit of their cognition and ability to communicate, and maybe just a tiny little bit their activities of daily living and independent living skills were being diminished, but not enough that you felt like you had to run in and rescue and to save. Because the human spirit is very tenacious and it adapts to some of the losses as people have them and as they age. And we're aging much healthier than we did decades ago. But again, how do we have that early intervention? How do we teach families to be a little bit more, keep their eye out for these forms of things? I'm going to give you a story because, you know, at Life is a Sacred Journey, we don't like to be too heavy because we want to make sure that we also speak to the heart. The other day, it was Saturday. Saturday, I came home from a retreat and exhausted, tired, and I got home and I realized I was starving. I was starving. And I needed something to eat, and everything in the house was not cookable at that time. So Mendocino Farms is one of my favorite places to go and get food. I went online, ordered the foods, and then I decided, I'm not going to do DoorDash. That's costing me too much money. Again, my goal for 2024. And I ordered the food. And as I was getting ready to leave, you know, it was raining, so my shoes were, and actually my house is a no-shoe house, so my shoes were outside and they were wet and everything. And the door was halfway open And I leaned over to put my shoes on, and Daisy, of course, was coming to see what mommy was doing, my dog. And I went to pull the door to say, "No, Daisy," and I pulled it too hard, and the door slammed. And the door slammed, locked. Thank goodness I had my car keys in my car because I was dressed. I had my raincoat on, I had my car keys, I had my money, but I had already paid for it. So anyway, long story short, I was sitting in the car thinking to myself, how do I tell my children this story where they will believe that nothing is going on with me? Because I am 60 something. Okay. So I went to a friend's house, dear friend's house. They have the kid's phone number. My son has a key to the house. So I called him. I said, "Can I come get the key?" He said, "Yes." But that very thought that I just shared with you, when I met with my son to get the key, he leaned into the car. He goes, "Mom, is everything okay?" And I said, "Yes, everything is okay." And I explained to him the story, that it wasn't because because I wasn't ready to leave. I leave my keys. Now, I do leave my keys in a bowl next to the front door so I don't have to run around the house looking for them. But I've been doing that for a long time. So they've been taught, though, that's the key that I want to say to you. They've been taught to check in. When episodes happen that are out of the ordinary, and I tell them about it, they check in to make sure that I'm okay, to make sure that I'm looking at the possibility that something that is kind of out of the ordinary for my behavior, that I'm checking in and being realistic. Because had I walked out of the house with the knowing that the bottom lock was locked and didn't take my keys, didn't do what I needed to do, and went to the car with no understanding of that, then yeah, Houston, we have a problem. And the good news is that many people were involved with that problem. And they all asked me, "Are you okay?" I said, "Well, you ask Daisy that because it's her fault." But always a little humor, friends, but not from the point that I'm laughing at it. What I'm saying to you is that we need to be honest with the people around us and have that early intervention. We need to have that early intervention conversation. If those kind of episodes were happening on a regular basis, you better believe I would be going, "Help," and telling my children and going to the doctor to try to figure out, because that early intervention is so important. So I want to also tell you that right now, that I read the statistics. So this is why emergency medicine specialists are going to be important in the field. Neurologists and geriatricians are going to be important in the field. They say the prevalence of Alzheimer's disease and other dementias will increase from 6.7 million today to 13 million by 2050. Okay, that's like 25 years from now. 20 close, 20 something years from now. Not even that now, right? So new treatment advances will be needed for MCI. We're looking at technology that can be put in the home to assist. We're having all this conversation about AI, but there's some good stuff about AI that could help support a person to stay in the home a little bit longer. So all kinds of technology. We already have carpets that let you know that your loved one is leaving the house, and things, and phones that, my kids, I'm on my daughter's phone. She knows when I go in and out of the house or when somebody's at my home. All of these technologies support caregiving and help with the caregiver care partner burden. And so when we're talking about that, we're talking about 11 million care partners. 11 million care partners who are providing unpaid care with Alzheimer's and dementia. And we're looking at 18 billion hours of unpaid assistance and a contribution value of oh my gosh, 339.5 billion dollars. $339.5 billion. Wow. That's a lot of money, and it's unpaid. And so the caregiver burden, we need to look at caregivers, how can we help? Are there tax write-offs? Things like, we did for children's daycare for many years. What about when I'm caring for my parent or my loved one? Can I write that off? Make it easier for caregivers, care partners to sign up for in-home support services and get a little bit of dollars back for the time that they are giving. This is not saying that they don't love their loved one and they, I shouldn't be paid for it. This is to help with the cost and the burden. Can you imagine how much, the figures I just told you? And if you divide that, which I should have done, by 11 million, you'll figure out how much it costs per person. Pretty expensive. We also know that Black and brown people have a higher percentage of Alzheimer's and dementias in their life. And so we need to work with and partner with and collaborate with our brown and Black caregivers and care partners, just like we are. We just need to partner and to ensure that we support them, because Black males are 3.3 times more likely to experience Alzheimer's. It's just the way it is. And this is, this is it. So caregivers need that support. Black male caregivers are 3.3 times more likely to experience financial burden when compared to Black female and white male and female dementia caregivers. So again, we have disparities in the care levels and how we support and help. So we have some future outlooks and opportunities over the next 2 decades, because that's what we're looking at, actually less than that now. We need outreach and education. Churches, you need to open up your churches and bring people in just to talk about aging and Alzheimer's and dementia whenever you can. Share it out into the stratosphere. It is very, very important. We have so many people in our brown and Black communities, faith-based communities, where courageous conversations are not being had, and we need to do that. We also need to support community-based services when they reach out to you and ask you for a letter of support, a donation, a call to your legislative bodies to protect these organizations in your community. We've had too many of them disappear in the last 2 decades. We need to have dialogue within our family about our cognitive concerns. We need to talk about it in every space that we can, and do it in a way that it's not this heavy duty thing like, oh boy, let me talk about my brain kind of thing, but where we're talking about this is the trajectory of life. If we have the opportunity to age in place, if we all get the opportunity to have long lives, it's unfortunate some of us may have this diagnosis, either living with it ourselves or caring for somebody that does. And so we have to come together. The Alzheimer's helpline is 1-800-272-3900. So I wanted to share that with you so that you would have it. So I hope that I have shared some thoughts and ideas with you where you can look at the future of your Alzheimer's and dementia journey, should you already be in it, or if you know somebody down the road, if you come across somebody in your life that may be experiencing them, you can give them some access tools so they can get started on the right path. The main thing, caregivers, care partners, that you need to do is know that you are not alone, that there are services out there. You need to access them. You need to pick up the phone and call somebody. And yes, sometimes it takes people time to get back to you, because I have to really say to you, a lot of us nonprofits are impacted by this great resignation. I have not been able to keep employees. Social workers and other folks just haven't been able to keep them or even hire them. I've been looking for an occupational therapist forever, because everybody wants to make a lot of money, because the cost of living is, and we pay well. So it's really interesting. So I hope that this information has helped you. We're going to continue to try to drop these kinds of ponderings where they're a little bit more focused and not just coming out of my brain, wandering thoughts, but to really focus on some of the things that will help you, caregiver, care partner, navigate this journey of Alzheimer's and dementia with support. And so I want to thank you all for taking time to come to Life is a Sacred Journey this morning, this Friday at 8 a.m. Our time is up. Boy, we have to go back into our lives and do what we do. I'm going to go downstairs and say and greet the morning with the team and say good morning to our participants. But as I leave you, I want to make sure that I share with you something that we share every week here at Life is a Sacred Journey. If you're somebody that's out there feeling sad and feeling like life is unkind, and that you would be better off not here, the world would be better off without you, please pick up a phone, find somebody that will let you call 988, text it, call it, get some support and help, because the world will not be a better place without you. And yes, the world it can be a weird place. And people can be so cruel. It breaks my heart when I sometimes think about how cruel people are. But 988 has people on the other end. They're not cruel. They're people who are willing to help. They're people who are willing to listen, and they're people who are willing to lean in and help you get the resources that you need to get you through this very dark time. No, you're not alone, that a lot of people have had these dark experiences. Yours truly. And I still do. I fight. I fight more than people know, to move from the dark places of my mind and my heart, just to make it every single day. So know that you're not alone. You're not the only person, and help is out there to support you. And we send you, from Life is a Sacred Journey, we send you a hug, and we send you great wishes. And dial that number 988 or text it, whatever works best for you. And people, be helpful to somebody if they come to you and they say, we need to I need to use your phone, can you dial text 988 for me? Help them. Okay, don't be afraid, help them. California Youth Crisis Line. Another heartfelt part of my life is I love young people, young adults. I love mentoring people. It's something that has been a part of my DNA, I think, forever. Maybe not forever. Maybe not forever. In my better season life, the Youth Crisis Hotline is a hotline that is set up to support emancipated youth and young adults, foster youth and young adults who have aged out of the system, and families in crisis. The number is 1-800-843-5200. I'm going to have their executive director on Life is a Sacred Journey here soon, just to talk about the initiatives that they're doing going forward, because I think it's important for you to know about this wonderful organization. So, friends, go out into the world and be the change. Be the change, and stop worrying about the stuff that is not in your control. I'm singing to the. I need to do that too. Be the change, and I'm going to read this. Kathy Kamai. Remember, I have Kathy Kamai is a dear sister to me, and she creates jewelry that is mind-provoking jewelry. And she sent me for my birthday the Be the Change earrings that I love. I love, love, love. Actually, I'm gonna wear those tomorrow. And in it, I got a card, and it reads this way, and we'll close. Life is a sacred journey with this thought. Thank you, Kathy Kamai. Kathy Kamai Designs. Check her out. In order to transform the world, said Mahatma Gandhi, you must be the change you wish to see in the world. Like these words of wisdom, the Be the Change pieces that she created are a reminder to us, to the wearer, that when one goes out into the world, they should become the shining example for whatever change they wish to manifest for the planet and its inhabitants. Don't be afraid to stand out and shine for what you believe. Change starts with action, not with words. So be some action out there in the world this weekend. And as I say, hug a tree, hug yourself, take a deep breath and pet the cat and pet the dog, talk to a bird, look out the window, and love yourself because you are marvelously, magnificently made. Have a good weekend. Peace.